Representative Chris Cruz. Chris, did you and Ed get all that down? So what he suggested you all take over?
I can only account for my testimony. Mr. Chairman, members of the Commission, it's good to speak before you this evening, and I want to thank you because I do appreciate, and I think you're well-intentioned in trying to address this issue. However, I've served as the chair of the GAE Committee, Government Administration Elections, for 4 years in the legislature. I was the co-chair on the House side. Many of the laws that we're talking about tonight I helped to write and also helped get passed in the legislature. There's two issues that I see that are paramount. One is, I believe on Election Day, a person's federal voting right was denied. When people are disenfranchised from being able to vote, they are denied the fundamental right of a U.S. citizen. And it happened in a number of ways. The ballots under the law, you have official ballots that are produced. They're produced by a printer. They're ordered through the registrar of a local municipality. Those are the official ballots. The law states that you have a reserve of official ballots. When the exhaustion of those official ballots...
doesn't give any amount...
Well, let me finish. Let me finish. And then the third step is that if you don't have the official ballot, you can go to a paper ballot system. The problem, as I saw it, was the whole system broke down. People waited almost 2 to 3 hours until ballots were brought to the schools. There was no quick response taking place. The whole system broke down. There are manuals issued by the Secretary of State of how to effectively run an election. Included in those manuals are recommendations of the number of ballots you should order so that you have ample supplies. But it's incumbent upon the registrar to read that. There are existing laws that speak about the ballots and how they should be processed during the day. In one polling place, Reed Middle School, where I vote, I went there, 47 people were denied the opportunity to vote. I counted them, 47 people. Most of them were African American and Latino. Reed Middle School. In addition, one gentleman came out who was Latino, very frustrated because he didn't have a driver's license, and he was denied the right to vote. The statute's very clear. If you don't have a driver's license, you must have some proof of identity. It could be a home heating bill, it could be a UI bill, or what have you. In addition, the voter asked to do a challenge provisional ballot, which he has the right to. The worker told him, no, you can't do that unless the registrar gives me approval. So, first of all, I would suggest this task is above your pay grade, with all due respect. I believe this commission, as part of its report, should ask for intervention by the U.S. Attorney's Office. If we are going to get the confidence of the system being corrected and clearly root out the problems and the inefficiencies and the incompetency, if it is that, only the U.S. Attorney that has subpoena powers, investigative resources can get to that. The second thing I would like your commission to do is to join me and many in this city that call for the resignation of the current registrar. And the reason I say that, this is not the first time that this registrar has either violated the law, ignored a law, or just totally was oblivious because of her incompetency. And I'll share with you this. In 2007, I brought a lawsuit over the municipal election at that time, over Democratic primary. It went all the way to the state Supreme Court. The election was not overturned because they stated it didn't rise to the level of it being overturned. However, documented in their decision by the Supreme Court were numerous violations of election law. The same election law violations we saw in 2007 materialized again now in 2010. Same types. Voters not being able to vote because they didn't have a license. Inside the polling places, workers were looking at the ballots. Individuals telling them how to vote. A series of issues. And I'm not faulting the individual workers in the school because I don't think they've been adequately trained. That was a decision by the court. They actually initially... A written opinion. Initially, they gave a verbal one and then later did a written opinion. I think those are the root problems that we're experiencing. Unless you devoid that office of incompetency You can suggest all of the advisory opinions you want. The laws in Connecticut can be written 5 times over. The effective way of handling election will continue because gross incompetency begets gross incompetency. And if the people of this city and of the state of Connecticut, because frankly it's been a laughing stock in Hartford, that's all legislators talk to me about is Bridgeport. If people have the level of confidence that we are correcting the problem, the registrar must go. The other side is we must bring the U.S. Attorney to do a thorough review. And in closing, here's the reason. As a candidate, I can lose. That happens every day. That's part of the democratic process. We get it. We get into a race. However, when we lose, and there is question over whether or not election laws were adhered to, whether there's question over shenanigans going on, whether there's a question of the incompetency of the registrar, and under the statute, the registrar is the chief elected official within the municipality. The statute's very clear about that. We're talking about 1 ballot for every 1 person. Been there, tried that before. The registrars across the state oppose that. That's why we never get it through. It's very clear that the municipal...
They oppose the one...
1 per 1 voter.
The ballots.
That's right. But even if the registrar was reading the manual, was trying to make herself aware of the situation, called the Secretary of State, how she picked 21,000 out of 69, I can't get it. You usually, even if you did half of it, you did 50%, you would have been covered. But this is the incompetency that we have going forward. Now, you know, I've called on all elected officials of this city to speak out and to call for her resignation, because that's the first step, what we've got to do first. And on election day, let me tell you, 47 people, predominantly African American, coming out of the polling place, some with tears in their eyes, some angry as you could never imagine, that they were being denied the right to vote. They were making comments like, Obama told us to come here, and now they, I take it, those in charge of the election were screwing us of the opportunity to vote. That was their words. In 2010 is very frightening to see, and it is downright wrong. And we saw that at Wilbur Cross School and other parts. So, in conclusion, 1, join us in calling for her to resign, and number 2, bring the U.S. Attorney in here. I know many of you are individuals who believe in voter rights. You believe in justice. This is an issue that must be corrected for Bridgeport if it's going to grow in the future. Thank you.
Senator,
can I ask Representative Russo?
Yeah.
What address? So 47, what valley, what polling place was that?
The 47 were at Reed Middle School. What had happened was I pulled up, I had just voted, and I came outside, and all of a sudden, without warning, people flooded out of the school, yelling, screaming, angry. There was a Caucasian woman who started swearing about it. I directed some people to an attorney who was an objective observer to get their names and information, and she, in that short period of time, I think wrote down over 50 people. I told people, please go over and see her, so if there's a court challenge, we'll have that. I counted about 47 that just fed up and left. I believe hundreds to thousands of people were disenfranchised because of this process or the collapse of the process. Winthrop School, I went up to Winthrop School. Around 11 o'clock, they were calling the registrar. The registrar has 1 phone in the office. The officials in the schools couldn't get through to the registrar. At 11 o'clock, we in the campaign knew they were running short on ballots. Do you believe until 3 o'clock the ballots didn't arrive? That's a long period of time. On top of when they were bringing the paper ballots, they were bringing it 100 at a time because they didn't get it, that that's statutorily permitted, and you should be prepared for it. The whole system collapsed.
Do you know if there's only one entity that does all the printing for the state?
I don't know offhand, Rich, but I do know that one of the printers does most of the municipalities, and the registrar doesn't get involved in that because, again, statutorily, and we tried to give her authority over the individual registrars, but the Registrar Association in the state is extremely powerful, and they stopped any effort at doing that. So the statute is very clear that the local registrar is that person in charge of the election.